What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, I'd like to go over what is success, right? It can mean so many different things to so many different people, and it's very subjective. If you ask anybody in their life, whether it be career-wise or health or even mentally, like, are you successful? Where do you view success? Who would you look to as successful? And I find that a lot of people, when it comes to success, they tend to associate that with money or wealth. And I'll be quite honest, there's plenty of examples out there in the world that money doesn't necessarily mean that they're successful, right? They can be successful in their own career. They can be successful in their own relationship, whether it be friends or, their significant other. So it can mean a lot of different things. And once upon a time when I was in college, we were tasked with finding someone and asking them who we thought was successful. Now, at the time, throughout college, I worked throughout college like many who probably went through that as well. I didn't come from money. So I had to work throughout my entire collegiate career. And there came a point where I questioned if I should even stick it out. And I'm glad that I did. And it definitely is one of those things that nobody can take from you. But to an extent, I feel like I did accomplish this to appease others, which you should never do, by the way. And even though I might have completed the degree, I feel like sometimes I look back and I'm like, you know what? I'm thankful for the experience, but at the same time, I definitely could have learned a lot outside of college. A lot of tangible skills I just aren't taught there and that aren't taught in the classroom. So I was tasked to find somebody, and at the time I was selling cars for Nissan, and I found initially I wanted to speak to the owner, right? But men of that stature, who am I? So I ended up booking an appointment with his assistant. I believe it was like maybe the general manager or the assistant manager, but the gatekeeper to him. And he's like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, why aren't you selling cars? Like, why are you coming in on your day off trying to ask questions? And I'm like, hey, I was tasked to find people who I thought was successful. And the very few times I had, instances with, the owner of the car dealership, he would always go on and he would tell me a little bit about a story and how his life is structured and how he has his life scheduled out, and he's got boxing lessons at this time, and he's able to go to this party and travel this place and provide this to his family. And I was like, wow, like this man, he's made it, right? He's made it, and he's definitely got it squared away to the point where he's got a business that runs itself and he doesn't need to be there. So in my head, I knew that was success to me. Again, it's different for everybody, right? Success can be owning a farm, having some farm animals and being chilling and, going off the grid. Cool. But at that time, I feel like a lot of young men are very obsessed with getting money, getting power, and driven. And as I was selling cars, right, I just knew that was an individual I need to be around, I need to learn from. And I did learn a lot working there, the good and the bad. And whenever I was talking to his assistant, right, he sat there and he told me his story and how he was able to come about. And he told me he didn't go to college either. He put in the work at the dealership day in and day out. And he told me that, when it comes to a deal, no matter what, he was there, whether the deal was starting at exactly when they opened or whether it was at 9 p.m. And he told me how hard it was just to work that lifestyle. Anybody in sales, anybody in car sales especially, it's got such a bad rep, but I feel like it definitely made me into the person I am today. But the point is that he made sure the job got done. And that's what I took away, is that, like, no matter where you were, you close a deal over there, you close a deal on your desk, you close a deal on the client's time. It isn't about your time or the hours of the dealership. It's about making it done, making sure the client's taken care of, and getting it sold. Man, when I was at that car dealership, they brought in some trainers, and it was fun. It was definitely an experience. And there was one guy, and I can't remember his name, but he would come in, and they brought him in, and he was like, hey, what are y'all's jobs? Oh, selling some cars. Let's get some leases. He's like, no, y'all are here to slang some steel. Y'all need to slang some steel on this dealership, on this lot. And I was like, yeah, you know what? He's right. Putting us in that mentality, getting us hyped up and whatnot. It was overall a great experience. And what I took away from that is like, I needed to make sure this deal goes through and the numbers will follow, right? As long as you're doing what you need to do and behaving what you need to do, everything else will follow behind. And I was like, that is so true. Like, I feel like most people get caught up in the details that they just forget what they're there for and the lifeblood of this business model. And I remember this too, because when I was selling cars, you give tours out to people, you let them take the car out for a spin, and you got the tire kickers that are just like, oh yeah, let me just take the one out for a ride. And I just remember at that point in my career, I was an order taker, so I didn't know what I was doing. So I would sit there, I'd be like, okay, you want to test out this car, test out that car. And one day I accidentally forgot I had kept some keys in my pocket, and I was like, oh dang, like it's closed, everybody's gone. And I ring up my sales manager, and his name is Weaver. And I asked him like, hey man, like I forgot to put up the keys for this one car. And this one car, it was the one that was a pretty well known car. It was a super car, and it was a fully spec'd out, and it had a signature of a very prominent collegiate football player at the time. And I was like, hey, I had the key. I'm sorry, like I'm gonna, I just accidentally forgot it, and it was funny. The funniest thing ever. He was like, so did you sell the car? And I was like, oh, no, I did it. But he's like, well, so it's fine. I'll just bring it back tomorrow. Like, right. And it's just like, dang, like he was in that mindset of getting that deal done. And I was just so young and so ignorant and feeling like I knew it all that I just was like, oh, I'm just sorry. I had the key. But, success means a lot of different things to different people. But at that time, I felt like as long as you're getting those jobs done, you're getting that deal done, success will follow you no matter which path you choose. If you focus on what needs to be done, the 80-20 rule, focus on the 20% that can actually impact and drive sales for the business, whether it be product or whatever you need to do, that's what you need to focus on, and that's what you need to lock in on. So that's all I got for us today. Appreciate you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe as always. And you are your greatest investment, and persistence breaks the resistance. Thanks.